So the thing is, as far as the challenges facing conservation in India are concerned, there are actually several challenges. So I think, first of all, if you look at the sheer wealth of archaeological sites in India, we are really looking at a few lakh sites, right? Which have monuments, which have inscriptions, which may have remnants of old architectural relics and so on and so forth. But if you look at the protected monuments, in the Archaeological Survey list, there are a little more than 3,500. And even if you were to actually put together the lists of various state departments and the lists which can be compiled, which concern traditional religious boards like the Devasthanams, the Waqf boards, and so on and so forth, you're still looking at something like 25,000. So I think the first problem is really this, that we don't conserve enough. The second problem is what we conserve merely by bringing them within a protective umbrella, that is by declaring them to be monuments either of national importance or important in the context of a particular region. We still, that can't ensure that these will be well looked after. And the reasons for this have to do with the lack of adequate watch and ward staff. So if you look at the Archaeological Survey monuments, nearly 2/3 of them are without any kind of effective chowkidars. So one monument, may not have a chowkidar. 6 monuments may be under one chowkidar, that kind of thing. So something as basic as watch and ward staff is missing. The second is because of a lack of accountability within government organizations, where there are encroachments and where encroachments on protected monuments, and encroachments happen for 2 reasons. One reason may well be the land mafia. Land is a very precious thing. The second has to do with the very rich antiquities that come out of these sites. So even if the Archaeological Survey or regional departments or directorates of archaeology file FIRs, what frequently happens is that the local authorities don't move on those FIRs. They're just papers. The third very major reason for the state of conservation has to do with the very poor nature of the conservation work. So if, for example, there's an excavated site, the sections will not be properly preserved. The material which has come out of many of these sites, this is not in the public domain. So let's take the excavations at Vidisha, for instance. We don't have an excavation report of Vidisha. We don't have a list which has been published. So some of this stuff disappeared. How is, on what basis are we going to say that, well, these have been stolen and so on? And finally, of course, there is the very vast market in illicit antiquities. I think it's the criminals and, the auction houses and the exporters who are liminal. Many of them export things in a reasonable fashion, but along with what they export, legitimately, there's a lot of illicit stuff which goes out. If that illicit antiquities trade did not exist, if there were enough people going to jail for trading in illicit antiquities, I think that too would make an impact. So I think the problem in our country is that there are enough laws. So I wouldn't suggest more laws, but I would suggest simplification of laws. And that's what Dilip Chakrabarti had said, that if you have just an ordinary peasant who finds something in his fields, if he's made to feel like a thief when he takes this to the local thana, there's a real problem. If he has to fill up things in triplicate, if he has to do it within a very short frame of time, otherwise questions will be asked about his integrity, he's just going to keep quiet about it. So I think one has to take people on board You have to take gram panchayats on board, you have to take municipal corporations on board, and you have to make people feel that, the government is actually very obliged, and government agencies are very obliged and happy that there are people who come forward with this material which is so important for reconstructing the history of this land.